Fostering teenagers is a house full of fun, enjoyment, loud music, partying, hoopla out here.
It's like fostering your own child. They have the same issues, the same hormonal things. They have the same, you have to imagine they're going through a puberty stage, and at the same time, they're not with their family, their biological family. So,
fostering teens, I'm not gonna lie, it is hard. It is a labor of love, most definitely.
I absolutely love it. Personally, I don't understand those that foster all the little kids because they would wear me out completely.
A lot of people tell you, you miss the baby stage and you miss the cute little stage. You just get the rebellious teenage daughter. But what we got was, she's still a teenage girl and she has almost mastered the art of the eye roll. However, she's also funny and articulate, and we can have great conversations and laugh and joke in a way that we don't do with our 4-year-old,
To me, teens are very fun, they're awesome, and a lot of stigmas think they're not manly, they're actually really manly.
I really enjoy fostering teens because, of course, we're teenagers and we can relate a lot to them, so we know what they like, what they dislike.
They take you to that, where you're like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. But then they do something that's, sweet, and you're like, okay, we got this. We'll be all right.
But teenagers, they have so much personality already. They are becoming their own adults. They're gaining that independence, and it's the stage of life I love the most. There's some ways where it's easier for them to be independent. For me, being a single parent, it's easier letting them go and do their own things, letting me have some of that alone time to balance out whenever they want to go out with friends. They also don't need as constant management, which is good for energy levels and all of that. I also work full-time, so don't have to worry about daycare or anything like that. The girls can stay home whenever they don't have school, but I do have work, and so that helps out.
I would say it's easier. It's easier to foster teens because you don't have to cater to their every need. If they're hungry for lunch and want a sandwich, they can go make their own lunch. They mostly entertain themselves, and the older teens in my house entertain each other. So that's been a real great thing.
With them being more independent, I love it. I don't have to buckle their car seats. I don't have to carry them. That part. It's almost a relief.
In some ways, for me, it made the bonding process a little harder because I had to figure out a way to bond with someone who's so established in their personality without the standard, I gave you a bath when you were little and I picked out your clothes. But in other ways, because she is so much older and she can talk about her feelings and we can discuss things and I can get her viewpoints on things, for me that made it easier to bond with her in other ways. That
with a smaller child, you're dressing them and you feeding them almost, ensuring that they can do things. You don't have to worry about that as much with a teen.
One of the harder aspects of it, though, is they're going to need help in some things that they have never had help before, and they don't know how to ask for that. So school is especially a challenge because they think they should be able to handle their own schoolwork, but they have developed poor school and study habits up to this point in their lives. And so
most of the foster children who are teenagers are not true teenagers chronologically, because anytime a child has been through any sort of traumatic state, they're not at that chronological age, even though they are, say, 13. Whatever age that child was removed from the home, they could really be at that particular age. Say they were removed from the home at the age of 6. Research shows that child is probably some 4 years behind. So a 13-year-old may not indeed be 13, he may just be 8. So it's based upon where they were when they were removed from the home.
There's less time. We met her when she was 12. At that point, we have 6, 7 years before she can legally just say, I'm gonna go. So you have not as much time to leave the impact that you want to. So time becomes a very valuable commodity.
Bonding the teens with my other teens in my home. I've really had to go out and really become creative on how to do that, because some of the teens that come in, they just depend on each other. They close themselves off in their room. They don't come out. They don't communicate as much. And creating things like family time, creating things like eating dinner together, and pulling things out of them to help bond with the other family members.
Some of the biggest challenges of fostering and adopting teens is their self-esteem. It can be in the tank and you don't even know it. They're struggling and you may not know it because they keep to themselves sometimes.
Well, for me, I still kind of look like a teenager. Thankfully, all the teens I have had have been very respectful and want to please me and want to do the right thing. And so I haven't had a challenge in that regard, but sometimes it's hard for people to accept us as a family when I kind of look like one of them.
What are some challenges you faced as fostering teens, the same ones that you would face with your own children? The exact same things, the puberty stage, or the trying to identify themselves at that age, as a teen. You're trying to figure your own self out.
I've heard some that act out my experiences that, keep to himself, keep everything in. Like with my son now, he had a few pretty intense episodes, I would call them. We have learned together how to get through it.
I think another challenge we face too is adjusting our parenting style to raising a teenager. Particularly if you've never raised a teenager, you don't raise a teenager the same way you do a toddler or that stage in between toddler and tween.
But another challenge is trying to get my teens to be open with me. Whereas young kids, you don't really expect them to be able to communicate feelings and process in that way. Older teens are now reaching the point where they can talk about the issues that they're facing. And so it's a whole new level of trying to teach them not only to talk about their feelings, but also how to talk about their feelings and work through what words do we use to express how we feel.
The challenges that we've had to face are honoring who she is and yet trying to have influence to help guide her and support her, and at the same time advocating for her and finding her all the resources that give her the best chance of success in her future and healing from the wounds of her past.
Most teenagers, they think they know it all and they know what they want, and they soon realize by time of graduation, well, that's not what I want to do. So it's helping them to guide them in the direction of what's most interesting to them to do.
Teenagers are already established their personality and who they are. And trying to parent that is a challenge in itself, because a lot of times you just butt heads because they have their ways and you have yours, and their ways have already established.
The false stigma on fostering teens would be that they don't want to be fostered, that they want to age out. That's not entirely true. Most teenagers want to have a family. Think about it, if they're a teenager and they're 16, 17 years old, chances are they've been in a foster care program probably a pretty good while.
They're gonna be not disciplined, no manners, not want to go to school, just, want to do their own thing. That's what you think. But for the most part, we can pretty much say that, you know, we haven't had that at all with the teens that we've had. You know, all of them have come in. And of course, as any teen, whether it's biological or foster or adoptive, you know, if they have a phone, you know, everyone's head is going to be in a phone. You understand that? So just kind of finding out that, you know, talking to them, as my wife says, having them do different things. And when you see them put the phones down and start talking, and you know that they're doing well.
People always have this idea the teens are going to, you know, steal their money, they're going to act out, they're going to be disrespectful. But all teens are different. And that's true whether they're biological kids, adopted, foster, it doesn't matter. Every child is different. Every child responds to situations in different ways.
The biggest false stigma, I believe, in fostering teens is that they're bad kids and that they are there because of something they did. And it's absolutely not true.
If they're a teenager and they're in foster care, there's something really, really wrong with them. They're bad. They're going to end up either pregnant by the time they're 15. They're going to end up in jail, in a gang. They're probably already on drugs. They're terrible. You can't fix them. They'll never heal. You'll never have a bond. As soon as they hit 18, they'll leave. I mean, we heard every one of those statements when we expressed the age of the child we were adopting.
And I would say some of the most polite kids we've had in the home have been teens. Like we had this 2 siblings that came in as teens. They came in, yes ma'am, no ma'am, do you need help with the kitchen? Can I help you with this? I mean, very respectful, very mannerly, do anything you ask them to do, and still communicated with me after they went home to see if we were okay. And I mean, some of the teens we had, awesome teens.
It is not a stigma that is hard to place, because most people want those nice bouncy babies and don't understand that those bouncy babies, you know, that's a 2 a.m. wake up or 3 a.m. Well, with a teen, there may not be a 2 a.m. wake up, you know, and so the stigma of just thinking that they don't want to be adopted, they really do.
And our daughter is smart, and she's funny, and she works hard, and she deserved to have an honest chance at coming into our family without any of those preconceived notions and being able to show who she was. You know, she's very respectful. She takes care of her elders. When we moved, without anybody asking, she carried the boxes up for my mother and grandmother. And so, I mean, she is the antithesis of those stigmas. And I think that if people were to able to get past them, they would stop seeing teens as these lost causes, because they aren't.
Yeah.
They aren't.
And so for anyone that's concerned with taking in teenagers because of they're afraid of what they can do, realize that they just don't know the proper way to handle being in a family. And most of these teens are just looking for a family to belong to in a way. They just need to be shown the way.